So before Disney Plus became all about the Star Wars and Marvel shows, there seemed to be a period of time where they actually cared about reviving old series and putting a modern spin on them. While we are still getting a new season of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, Disney straight up canceled the adult Lizzie McGuire revival. Because although they wanted to explore Lizzie all grown up, they had issues with the creator wanting to take an actual adult approach to things. They didn't want Lizzie McGuire tackling the birds and the bees. Think about the children! Even though the children won't be watching, it'll be the people who grew up with the show, Disney. That's the point of the show growing up. They wouldn't even take it to Hulu. But now it seems as if Viacom CBS wants to give Disney a run for their money, showing them the error of their ways by profiting off of their mistakes. A few months prior, we had the revelation that Paramount Plus, formerly known as CBS All Access, would be bringing back the beloved Nickelodeon sitcom, iCarly, this time for an adult audience. It also appears that Dan Snyder is not involved with this revival, which, good. However, Jennette McCurdy also will not be returning to this revival due to the toxic and scarring experiences she faced at Nick, and I don't blame her. Plus, she's technically already written out thanks to Sam and Kat, so those bases are covered. There's also no word on Noah Munich's character Gibby making a return in the series, but honestly, I think Noah Munich is doing just fine without Gibby. Much like Jennette McCurdy, it's much more of a loss for Viacom CBS and not the actor passing on it. And of course, that's not to knock the revival, of course. After all, I'm cautiously optimistic that it might be something decent, at the very least, opening the doors for more well-suited revivals. It does make me kinda sad that in the 9 years since iCarly has concluded, the actors haven't been able to break off into something bigger to the point where this revival would be lucky to have just Carly back. But there's something oddly depressing about having Miranda Cosgrove, Nathan Kress, and Jerry Trainer all back just like that. Though at the same time, I imagine they have quite a bit of money being thrown at them, so I doubt it's as much of a loss as I'm envisioning. But over the weekend, we got a big update with the first details thanks to the folks over at Discussing Film. And it sounds interesting to say the least. And I'm cautiously optimistic. Per our sources, the series will be set 10 years after the events of the original Nickelodeon hit in the modern TikTok era of social engagement. However, the focus will not be on Carly becoming a TikTok star, but rather it will explore her journey through her 20s alongside her friends and family. As we already know, Miranda Cosgrove, Jerry Trainer, and Nathan Kress will all reprise their respective roles as Carly, Spencer, and Freddie. Jennette McCurdy is not expected to return as Sam, making way for two new characters set to be introduced to the revival: Carly's new best friend and Freddie's stepdaughter. Carly's new best friend and roommate will be part of the LGBTQ+ community as a pansexual character who dreams of becoming a fashion stylist after her wealthy family lost all of their money. The character will also serve to push Carly out of her comfort zone as they confront day-to-day obstacles. Freddie's stepdaughter is reported to be social media obsessed, who sees the older Carly as washed up, as well as competition to her small YouTube channel. Per how sources have described this revival to us, it seems that rather than focusing on Carly's web series, which more than likely will still be a part of the show to some degree, it will aim to appease a generation that grew up with these characters by having them explore modern problems that young adults face. That being said, from how roles such as Freddie's teenage stepdaughter are being set up, the series looks to be making itself open to a fresh, younger audience as well. Unlike recent revivals of iconic childhood programs like That's So Raven, this series may aim to appeal to all audiences. What stands out is the inclusion of a prominent LGBTQ+ character. This is especially important in a genre of television where such representation has been very scarce until recent years. The notable example being Cyrus Goodman, portrayed by Joshua Rush in Andy Mack, who became the Disney Channel's first leading gay character in 2019. In essence, this is what Hilary Duff and writer-producer Terry Miskey aim to do for the Disney Plus Lizzie McGuire reboot, television that approaches the struggles of adulthood while gearing towards the young adults that grew up with the original program. First announced in 2019, the new Lizzie McGuire would go on to film 2 episodes before Minsky parted ways due to creative differences. It was later revealed that these differences stemmed from the show not being family-friendly enough for Disney Plus, with themes such as sex! Duff herself eventually pled to Disney to move the series to Hulu, a platform that could host mature content for younger viewers with less restrictions. Love Victor previously moved from Disney Plus to Hulu for these similar reasons. And you know, not Disney being afraid of scaring off bigots. Duff announced that no creative agreements could be made and that the project was officially canceled last December. It appears that this new iteration of iCarly will strive to get this concept right while opening the door for new fans to be introduced. With all the public commotion that came with Disney's mishandling of their own legacy teen show, Paramount already has an example of what not to do. Paramount Plus will also be free from the strict family-friendly rules felt on Disney Plus, something that is sure to work in favor of both iCarly and its fans. Filming is set to begin in March in Los Angeles, with Jay Kogan and Ali Shelton serving as writers and producers on the series. Apologies if I butchered any of your last names. I have a Michigan accent, you know how it be. The yet-to-be-titled iCarly revival will be exclusive to Paramount Plus, which is making a splash with new content starting March 4th with the highly anticipated US premiere of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. I mean, is it highly anticipated? You can just use a VPN and watch it, dog. I haven't yet, but the option's there. Now, for years, I have been clamoring for an adult revival of not iCarly, but Drake and Josh, as last year I binged the entire series, and honestly, that Y7 rating was holding it back. But considering Josh Peck has been leaning more into internet fame, and Drake Bell is, making music in another language, I guess iCarly is the second best option. Plus, if I'm being honest with myself, it was the more popular show anyways. And while I'm typically iffy towards revivals and reboots and reimaginings, I'm cautiously optimistic because it sounds like they are taking that adult approach, that they are stepping things up, and that they are acknowledging, hey, the people who will watch this are the people who grew up with this show, and thus the show needs to grow up with them. I wasn't too into Boy Meets World, so I wasn't really thrown off by Girl Meets World, but I felt played by Raven's tone. I get that you can't have grown-ass Raven Simone dominating the show, but even in tone, this show feels like such a far cry from That's So Raven that it makes me sad. I would love to get into the show, but the magic of what made Raven so special is just gone. With iCarly, the youngest new character we have is Freddy's stepdaughter, and it doesn't even sound like she'll be a main character. It sounds like she's gonna be a rival, an antagonist of sorts. Which, honestly, Gen Z versus millennials on the internet happens way more often than it should. So they're kind of nailing it on the head. Of course, I'm curious about characters like Neville. Is he gonna return? What is his status gonna be? Because if we're being honest, if this show truly goes buck wild, if they just say, fuck it, we're going full adult, it's gonna be the tone and obscurity of iCarly, but we're upping the ante, then Neville's probably gonna be QAnon. I'm just saying. And while I am curious about how iCarly as a web show is going to survive in the modern era, especially since it sounds like they're using actual social media now, is Carly mainly gonna be operating her web show off YouTube? Because you can live stream, or are they going to go with Twitch and then upload highlights on the YouTube channel? Honestly, the smartest thing they could do would be to poach a YouTube talent, someone like Gus Johnson, a tried and true internet funny man, and just have him fact check all the internet shit, someone who doesn't just understand, but has the experience of the modern day internet inside and out. Someone with experience with those platforms who's also known for skits and making people laugh with absurdity. They have to come correct with this. It's not enough to just let the characters make funny swears while yelling. Like, yeah, do I want to hear Spencer curse like a sailor for once? Of course. Do I want that to happen while he's on Twitch or something? And then it spirals into some kind of wacky situation that comes off as cringy and insincere because people who use Twitch would go, this would never happen like that. I feel like there's potential and a lot of good ideas here, but again, we need certified internet funny men on board. The original iCarly worked when the internet was a much smaller place, but the game has completely changed. And we already saw what disasters they could come up with in the original, like, I start a fight with Fred or whatever the fuck that episode was. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I definitely want to hear yours. What do you think? How do you feel about this iCarly revival? And surprise, surprise, Netflix in the United States just re-released the first 2 seasons on their platform. So I guess it's time to relive the magic. But as always, drop your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. We're on both Twitter and Instagram. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me on Ostrich Fox on both Twitter and Instagram. Help the Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. Shout out to our patrons for their amazing support. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll keep y'all updated on any future posts towards these revivals. See ya!